Recognize the Leader of the Third Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak here. Second reading to Bill 33, an act to amend the Early Childhood Services Act. I have no particular objection to this bill, Mr. Speaker. There will be some questions at committee stage. However, it does reflect one of the things it is doing here is implementing some of the terms of the bilateral funding agreement on early learning and child care, the sort of Canada-New Brunswick agreement on early learning and child care, Mr. Speaker. And I do have objections to the government's practice of not releasing full details when they sign bilateral agreements with Ottawa and posting the agreement online so that this House and all New Brunswickers understand what they have negotiated in full detail with the federal government. These are not things that should be held back and the components dribbled out in an effort to gain a little bit of a few political points, Mr. Speaker. These are agreements with the federal government of Canada to deliver particular programming. Mr. Speaker, the federal government side of it, the programming the goals and objectives are clearly articulated online, so you can see what the intent of the federal government is in establishing these bilateral programs. What we can't see, Mr. Speaker, is what the intent of the province of New Brunswick is, the government of New Brunswick is, in implementing these programs and delivering them in New Brunswick as a result of these bilateral funding agreements, in this case on early learning and child care, but you can look at any of them, Mr. Speaker. It's the same problem. Last June, the bilateral agreement on the low-carbon economy fund was announced, and New Brunswick the government has yet to release any details of what that agreement entails, what the money will be used for, Mr. Speaker. Instead, it's being dribbled out bit by bit to make political announcements. So I do take exception to this approach, Mr. Speaker, and I would encourage the Minister of Education and Early Childhood to post on his website the full agreement with the federal government on early learning and child care. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Other speakers?